Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30. It's Tuesday, February 25th. And okay, so no continuation to the downside after this little drift to the upside we had. And that is a very positive sign, I would say. So uh, I was expecting them to after this little retest failure occurred. So this is the little drift up, right? We talked about this. The low happened here right at the London close. It started drifting higher. Wasn't quite believing this thing. I was expecting it to move down, run down to the mean, retracement, failure, start heading lower here. I start thinking about, okay, let's see if the short side is going to be able to do something with it. So this is this move lower. So as they start heading lower, I was looking for a potential short opportunity. Could not find it. It's a V-tops bottom. It's like very difficult stuff. I did try a Nasdaq trade on this rotation down. A little bit late to it, but it just turned into a scratch. But at least I tried it. But I was expecting this movie after this little pop to be a little bit more aggressive on the downside. But so far they're not. So far they're holding on. So I'm getting modestly optimistic that we may be able to hold this 59.80s going into the close. So we'll see. If they can do that, if they can hold the 59.80s, they may actually start off here a little bit more on the range bound side, and they're not necessarily all the way onto the short side, though we are pretty much towards the low end of the range. So, I mean, I would love to have it come up above the 59.95 or 6100 levels, but chances are we may be holding here at the 59.80 as well. I think about 59.80 is going to be positive sign. I'm still going to start off on the short side, looking for short setups against the 95 and the 6100 or 60, probably 6105s now, or adjust this level to be in the 65, 66,005 to 10s in this area. Put an edge right there for rotations back down. And if they can scratch up above it, maybe we have a shot at getting back up. Now, I said yes, well, this morning we talked about Nvidia earnings coming out tomorrow, right? Tomorrow after they close Nvidia report, and that's going to be a pretty big event. That's going to be either market's going to absolutely have a hissy fit, or we may actually turn this rally or this sell-off into a little rally. So it just depends. It's just how they're going to report and the market's going to interpret that information. But so far, I have to say the fact that the fact that they haven't run it down going into the close, I did not yet. We have still a half hour left, so they can still do it. But no weakness going into the close I think, is a positive sign. I'm still going looking for shorts against that 95 and 6005s for rotations back down. But you can see here, we have been down here testing these lower edges. Let's see if that's going to be it. If not, we have that 58.40, 10 to 15. It is all the way down here to the 58. Well, 58.40 to 50s is the first one here, and then we have the 5800s, which is going to come up next. So that would make things pretty ugly, but we'll see how this whole thing shakes out tomorrow. So at this point, starting off with a slight bias to the downside. If they close above 59.80, that's a good sign. Still looking for those shorts. If they can just climb up above that 6,010s and start retracing above it, I think we may have a shot at a little bit more of a recovery going, at least a little bit more strength happening. But we'll see. They're not out of it just yet, so we'll see where they end up closing. That's how we get started on the ES. Looking at the Nasdaq and the bond market, that's a flight to safety kind of a move, right back up again. So they're in the move right in the middle to the upside. Definitely heading higher. And at this point, we are right up here against the 1725s, this attractor area. Let's see if they're going to stall. They stalled there, but let's see if they can. It's going to hold there, or if they're going to keep trading higher. So starting off from the long side on the bonds, they're still in the move out of the middle to the upside. So I'm going to adjust these edges. Going to be having one edge down here at the 17 4 to 6, 4 to 7s. And one edge here at the 15 16s for rotations back up again. So looking for long setups against the 16s and the 17 or 6 to, okay, it's going to be, right, what is it, 4 to 6, 4 to 6. I'm going to adjust these edges going into tomorrow. The trade bonds on the long side at least to get started and see if they can keep this going. Nasdaq has been the one that's been a difficult one. I see I took one trade right there. I was looking at this little retracement. I figured out they're looking for short, but I kind of missed this whole thing. I wanted to sell into the high, but I could not. It wasn't quite up here to the mean, and it was at the midpoint, and just too volatile for me to want to just step in front of it. Then it would have been a 215, and this rotation is at 50, so that would have been a 35-point move to the upside. for my stop. So that'd be a bigger stop than I want to put on there. So I waited, and when I started to start heading lower, I kind of missed it a little bit. It was late on this thing. Went to break even and then kind of reversed back on me. I thought it's going to be a little bit more volatility to the downside, but so far not much. But at this point, let's see where they're going to end up. If they can hold this mean green line and not keep heading lower, we may have a shot at maybe a little bit of recovery here, but I'm going to start off from the short side anyway and look to sell strength at this point against the 260s, against the 290s, probably against the 21 400s. So above the 400s, I think we are heading back up into good territory. But at this point, yes, it's going sideways in that 21 200 high volume attractor area. And that's just, that's kind of a tough one. So we'll see where they're going to end up. And push comes to shove, if you see that late selling going into the close, that would not be a good sign. Then we're going to start off on the Nasdaq. We're already leaning short. On the ES, I'd be borderline doing that, but we'll see how they actually end up closing. Oil and gold. Gold trading back up a little bit, retracing a little bit, but you see how they have an edge at the right there. Pretty good about that, right? That resistance at the 29, 25 resistance area. So at this point, looking for short setup against this one. If this starts trading above it, I'm going to look for retracement on the single prints all the way up here to the reverse retesting 35s and the 42s. Potentially looking for short setups against them to get started. But if they retrace right back up here and take those out, we're back up in that 2950 area. So starting off on the short side, this is the last one I would look to sell against, the 25s. Above that, I'm going to look for retracement trade back up here. So let's see how far they can take it if they can. But nice little retracement. So volatile gold all over the place this morning. Big sell-off and then a nice little retracement on that. And oil, I would trade that on the short side. A nice little move to the downside. And I would say that we are looking to sell strength at this point against this edge at 69.10s. Yeah, 69.10 to 20s. And we'll see what edge, and they definitely the 70 edge. So that's those two. If they start trading above that 69.10 to 20s, potential retracement trade closing those single print Cs on the way up here. So we'll see how they're going to pan out. With oil, if you look at the bigger picture, capital flow, they're trading in this range right now. So they're down here testing that lower edge. If they can't take it out, the retracement will just take it back up to this area. So that would be pretty much what you would expect if they can't take out the lows. So starting from the short side, if they start trading above that 69.10s, start looking for moves back up again. And gold, trade that from the short side, above 25, look for a retracement trade higher. Now back to the ES, and as I said, depending on where they close now, we are right at here at that 59.80 level. And if they can't, if they close above it, I'm going to be modestly optimistic. But you see that, I mean, it's anyone's guess if they're going to try to nail this going into the close or not. We'll see. But I mean, if they close at the upper end of this distribution, I'm going to be modestly optimistic that we can potentially have a little bit of strength showing. But it's anyone's guess. Now, news for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we get mortgage apps at 7. We have new home sales at 10. Oil report at 10:30, and that's about it. So a 7-year auction at 1. So not much news really to deal with. So again, it all comes back to if the sell-off is kind of done with itself, or if people are going to be starting to look at if the prices are getting cheap enough for people to start bargain hunt. But we're down here at a pretty good support area. So remember what I showed you. We're down here at this lower support area. They bounce off that right now. But if they take out the 59.10 to 12s, I mean, we are in for a move to the downside. We could certainly head all the way down here to that 58.50s. That's going to be where you really find support next. That could be another ugly day in front of us. It just depends. And I think a lot of it's going to hang exactly on what happens tomorrow afternoon after NVIDIA's earnings comes out. That could be a make it or break it moment for the markets, because that's such a big part of the Nasdaq. So Nasdaqs are tanking. It's going to probably drag everything with it. So watch for that. At this point, it looks to me like we're going to get that weakness. At least it's starting. So we'll see where they're going to end up here in a bit. So I'm going to wrap it here for now, and I'll see you guys back bright and early tomorrow morning. You guys have a good evening. Later.